Driving to the Future, Living Life Following Formula One Racing by Dr. Mario Felice Teche. Adapted for audio and read by Crew Chief Eric from the Motoring Podcast Network and Revel Arroway from You're Listening to Radio Revel. Driving to the Future. This is not just a story about racing. It's a meditation on life, death, and the choices we make in between. Told through the voice of Mario, a reflective narrator shaped by decades of motorsports, science, and personal experience, Driving to the Future invites us into a journey that begins on the track but reaches far beyond it. Across the 11 chapters of his book, Mario explores the metaphor of driving as a lens for understanding existence. He revisits legendary races and iconic drivers like Gilles Villeneuve, Ayrton Senna, and Jackie Stewart, not to dryly recite statistics, but to illuminate character, courage, and conviction. Each turn on the circuit becomes a philosophical pivot toward memory, excellence, loss, and redemption. The narrative weaves together the experience Mario has with motorsports history, his career as a molecular biologist, and his thoughts on theology and metaphysics. Mario draws parallels between the roar of the racetrack and the silence of the biologically microscopic, between the sometimes death-defying risks of overtaking at Monaco and those risks involved in loving deeply. Mario reflects on free will, virtue, hope, and the infinite, always returning to the central question: what does it mean to live well? Mario's story is a tribute to those who take the steering wheel in their hands, not only on the asphalt, but in the driving of their own lives. It honors the racers who have never lifted, the thinkers who've never stopped asking, and the loved ones whose smiles carried us through the toughest turns. It's a story of motion, meaning, and the eternal race we all run. Now, let's let Mario take the wheel. Scene 1. The Last Turn.
I always keep the last turn in mind, not just on the track, but in life. It's the place where everything slows down, where instinct takes over, and where you understand what really matters. I've taken many turns in my life, some fast, some reckless, some cautious. But the last turn is different. It's not about speed. It's about clarity. I think of Gilles. He never slowed down, not even in the last turn. He believed in pushing beyond limits, even when the car protested, even when the world said no. That was Gilles. Pure. Defiant, beautiful. I'm watching Gilles drive at Zolder. The car is twitching, unstable, but Gilles holds it together with sheer will. He isn't driving the car, he's commanding it. And in that moment, I understood. Driving isn't about control. It's about surrender.
When Mario speaks of Gilles Villeneuve, one can almost hear a certain reverence, not just admiration, but a connection, a shared understanding between drivers who see the world through the lens of velocity and risk. Mario doesn't romanticize his vivid memories. He doesn't glorify danger either. He respects it. He knows what it takes to face the last turn and what it costs him to never back down.
I've lost friends to that last turn. I've seen helmets fly, engines explode, silence fall. And yet we keep driving, not because we're fearless, but because we're faithful. Faithful to the road, to the machine, to the dream.
For Mario, the last turn is both a metaphor and a reality. It's the curve that tests everything you are, and when you emerge from it, if you emerge, you're changed.
I don't race anymore, not like I used to, but every time I get behind the wheel, I feel it. That pull, that whisper, that question, "Are you ready?" And I answer, not with words, but with motion.
Scene 2, 3 turns.
I remember Jackie Stewart at Monza in 1973, the Parabolica turn, so fast, so unforgiving. Jackie's Tyrrell dances through it with precision, like the car is stitched to the asphalt. He wasn't just driving, he was foxtrotting. Every movement had intent, every choice mattered. He started fourth that day, but a puncture forced him into the pits. In those days, pit stops were rare, almost a guaranteed loss for your race. But Jackie came back. From last place, he surged forward, overtaking with grace and fury, finishing fourth and clinching his third world championship. That drive wasn't just fast, it was virtuous. It became the pursuit of excellence.
Mario sees Jackie Stewart's performance not just as a technical feat, but as a moral one. For him, it's a demonstration of fortitude, patience, and purpose. It's a reminder that greatness isn't always about winning, it's about how you respond when the odds turn against you.
A few weeks later, Stewart retired. His teammate, Francois Sever, had died in a crash. Sever had been waiting for his moment in the spotlight, helping Jackie, learning, growing, but fate intervened. Like Gilles, Sever never got the chance to demonstrate what he could become. And 1973 marked the beginning of the global oil crisis. Suddenly, driving was discouraged. Fuel was rationed. Sundays in Italy became car-free. It felt like the world was turning against everything I loved. Some even called for motorsports to be banned, to save fuel, to set an example. But the point of motorsports was being missed. Racing isn't about waste. It's about striving. It's about doing the best you can, together.
Mario's defense of motorsport is philosophical. He sees competition not as conflict, but as collaboration. The Latin roots of competition combine cum with petra, to seek together, as in to aim higher, not against each other, but with each other.
Senna always understood that he was collaborating with his rivals on the track. So did Gilles, so did Jackie. They weren't fighting one another. They were searching together, searching for the edge, for the truth, for the best version of themselves. For example, I think of Gilles in Argentina in 1981. His Ferrari is oversteering, drifting off the racing line, but Gilles holds the car, controls it, pushes it. That image in movement is etched in my mind, his car dancing on the limit. I didn't see recklessness. I saw mastery. I've always believed that excellence isn't just about results. It's about commitment, about doing your best even when the odds are stacked against you. I remember watching Senna take his first lap in the rain at Donington in 1993. He'd started fourth, yet by the end of that lap, he is leading. It was like watching a miracle unfold before my eyes. He wasn't just faster, he was transcendent. Now, I don't worship drivers or teams, so you'd be hard-pressed to call me a tifoso. But that lap moved me. It was pure. It was beautiful. It was the kind of moment that reminds you of why you care.
Mario's reflections are not just about motorsport. They're about life. His memories are tactile. You can feel the tires skidding, the engine roaring, the tension in the air. But beneath this detail, you can almost sense a deeper question being mulled upon. What does it mean to live well, to do good, to be good? That comes down to choices and the pursuit of something greater than victory.
It is in the rain, in the chaos, in the silence after the race that I find meaning.
Scene 3, more turns.
It's 1979, the Italian Grand Prix. Bruno Giacomelli's Alfa Romeo is flying through the Parabolica, that sweeping final curve so respected at Monza. The movement is fast, aggressive, beautiful. For several laps, Giacomelli has been faster, inching closer. He's closing in on Niki Lauda's Brabham, ready to overtake, and then, just as the pass seems inevitable, Giacomelli loses control and spins off the track. This was heartbreaking, not just for the race, but for the all-Italian dream that it represented. Giacomelli, an Italian driver piloting the Alfa Romeo, an Italian car, powered by an Italian engine, engineered by an Italian, built at an Italian factory. And it is this Italian dream all converging into a beautiful reality at Monza, the temple of Italian motorsport. That moment was more than a missed overtake, more than an embarrassing retirement from the race after only 28 laps. It was a missed opportunity to show the world what Italy could do.
Mario's disappointment wasn't just technical, it was cultural. Giacomelli's Alfa Romeo was a symbol of national pride, and its failure felt personal. But even in defeat, Mario saw value. The potential was there. The dream was real.
The 1979 Grand Prix was won by two Ferraris. Jody Scheckter took the championship. Gilles Villeneuve, following team orders, had hung back, did not take his chance to win. Gilles was loyal. He was patient, but that chance to win would not come again. Formula One and the world have changed so much since those days in racing. The championship was mostly European, and Italy had a much stronger industrial political role in the world. That role was given a new reinforcement with the visit of the Pope. Pope John Paul II visited the Ferrari factory in 1988, just months before Enzo Ferrari died. The Pope stepped out of stately protocol and asked for a ride in a Ferrari around the Fiorano circuit. John Paul II demonstrated an understanding of the spirit of the place. That moment of faith meeting engineering was unforgettable.
Mario's memories stretch across decades, but they're not just snapshots. Like the race cars he's loved watching, the memories are living moments in movement. He revisits races that didn't just shape motorsports, but helped shape his own sense of possibility, pride, and disappointment. Italian dreams, global shifts, and personal reflections converge in the turns of Monza, Jerez, and Monaco.
Senna's death in 1994 still haunts me. He was trying so hard, pushing so much. He deserved better. Then a tiny piece of suspension pierces his helmet. Had that final crash at Imola not occurred, Senna would have won in 94, 95, 96, maybe even 97, but sometimes effort doesn't match the outcome. That's life. That's racing. It's 1997, and Jacques Villeneuve, Gilles' son, clocks an excellent lap time that earns him his position on pole at the European Grand Prix in Jerez. Then the unbelievable occurred. Two other drivers set the exact same lap time, identical, down to the thousandth of a second. A third driver did the same. What seemed a coincidence felt surreal. Having set time first, Jacques kept pole, and the next day he won the championship. It felt like divine justice for Jacques' father, Gilles, for Senna, for all the good their untimely deaths had denied them and the world.
Mario doesn't believe in coincidence. He believes in meaning. That race, with its impossible symmetry and the poetic justice of the outcome, the Grand Prix of Jerez, was more than a sporting event. It became a moment of redemption. He sees justice in both results and in effort, and also in commitment. The willingness to do good, even when the world doesn't seem to reward it.
Lewis Hamilton is winning at Monaco in 2008 in the rain. The track is changing constantly, but Hamilton keeps getting faster. His yellow helmet drifting through the Grand Hotel hairpin, Hamilton's command of the car and the track brought back memories of Senna in '89. Same track, same brilliance. Hamilton was going to accomplish a lot. That day I saw it clearly. Driving is more than a movement. It's a way to feel your potential. To go fast is marvelous, but not because of the speed. Rather, because of what it reveals. Your instincts, your courage, your control. I started with motorcycles, a 50cc Vespa, then a 125cc Gilera, later cars. I loved the sound, the throttle response, the feeling of acceleration. I never liked diesel, too dull, too slow. I wanted to be a racing driver, but, of course, life took me elsewhere. I studied, I taught, I worked at a university. Still, the desire for speed and its marvels never left me.
Mario's admiration isn't blind, it's earned. He sees greatness not in fame, but in moments, in choices, in turns well taken. Mario's journey isn't one of regret, it's one of reflection. Though he didn't become a racer, he became a thinker, a storyteller, and a seeker. Mario sees excellence everywhere, in skiing, in racing, and in life.
January 18th, 1975. The slalom ski champion, Gustav Thony, races downhill at Kitzbühel. No one expected Thony to do well in that downhill, but he did. He committed. He excelled, even as only 0.003 of a second separated him from the winner, Franz Klammert. That performance helped Thony win the Alpine Ski World Cup. That's what I admire. Not just the result, but the effort. Thony's downhill run reminded me of Formula One. High speed, precision, risk, and the pursuit of something greater, to live well, to do good. That's the turn I keep chasing.
Scene 4. The dream turn. The real turn.
Scott Stoddard is driving fast. Too fast. He's closing in on his teammate who doesn't want to be passed. Monaco is unforgiving, and overtaking there is nearly impossible, but Scott tries anyway. Coming out of the tunnel, driving into the chicane, the teammates collide. The crash is violent. Flames erupt. Scott is seriously injured. But he didn't give up. He came back. He raced again. Scott Stoddard demonstrates the ambition, the pain, the determination. Even though they are on the screen, they are real. They represent the reflection of the spirit of drivers like Lorenzo Badini, who died in a similar crash at Monaco just a year after the film was released.
The story of Stoddard, portrayed by Brian Bedford in the movie Grand Prix, resonates to Mario because it captures something he believes to be essential: the willingness to risk everything for excellence, not out of recklessness, but out of purpose. And he finds himself exploring the emotional truths revealed through the fictional characters in the movie as they mirror real-life drivers, their risks, and their choices.
Stoddard in the film wasn't being reckless. His was commitment. He knew the risks, and he accepted them. That's what racing was in those days. The cars were dangerous, the tracks were unforgiving, but the drivers weren't suicidal. They were seekers. Today the risks are lower. Technology has made the sport safer, but that essence remains: the pursuit, the drive, the dream.
Mario can draw parallels between the fictional Stoddard and the real driver Niki Lauda, who returned to racing after a near-fatal crash. Lauda's comeback at Monza in 1976 was legendary. His decision to stop racing in Japan later that year was controversial, but deeply human.
Lauda was always in my thoughts. I followed his career closely. I read his interviews. I watched his races. I felt like I knew him, even though we never met. When he died, it felt personal, like losing a friend. He was buried with his original Ferrari racing suit. That gesture said everything. I remember Lauda's words when he left Ferrari in 1977. He wondered to himself where he and Ferrari would be in 2 years. Ironically, Ferrari won the championship exactly 2 years later. 21 years would pass before Ferrari would see their next win. And in the middle of those 21 years was 1982, the year in which Gilles Villeneuve should have won.
Mario's connection to Niki Lauda is emblematic of how fans experience motorsport, not just as entertainment, but as a relationship. Through media, memory, and emotion, drivers become part of our lives. His reflections are layered with irony, insight, and longing, and he sees the sport not just as a series of races, but as a tapestry of choices, consequences, and character.
We follow drivers, we admire them, we learn from them, and sometimes we feel like we know them. But the truth is, we only know fragments. Still, those fragments matter. They shape us.
Scene 5. Beyond the Last Turn. Faith and Hope.
I'm running late for a meeting, driving at about 100 kilometers per hour, reasonable for a moderately crowded road in ideal conditions, but this time I'm pushing the limit. It's raining and visibility is poor. I'm just coming out of that tight curve when I see the 2 lanes of stopped cars, barely 50 meters ahead. The road is slick. Braking hard seems impossible. I downshift from 4th to 3rd, the engine roaring, the gears resisting. I jerk the steering wheel and the car begins to drift. Somehow the rear wheels swung around, help to break the speed. Then, miraculously, the car straightens and slips through the narrow gap between the 2 lanes of cars. Once I stopped, I saw I had only had a minor bump, just a broken mirror. I was alive, unhurt, but shaken. In those few seconds as I managed my auto into that unlikely safe stop, I saw death. I found myself revisiting my life, my youth, my studies, my marriage, my children, my work. Like the refrain of a favorite song, my thoughts began focusing on 3 questions. Had I lived well? Had I done good? Was I afraid to die?
A moment of crisis, a tight turn, a blocked road, and the looming possibility of death. Yet he doesn't dwell on the fear. Jumping at the chance the experience gives him, he reflects on life, mortality, and the search for meaning. His questions are universal. They echo through philosophy, religion, and science. What is life? What is death? And what does it mean to live well?
Here is an image that haunts me. Ayrton Senna on the grid at Imola. Helmet off, eyes closed, moments before what will be his final race. Senna looks troubled. Of course he was troubled. That crash just yesterday that had taken Roland Ratzenberger's life during the 2nd qualifying session. Today Senna had packed an Austrian flag to unfurl after the race in Roland's honor, and yet perhaps the trouble behind his brow is something anchored more profoundly in his soul. He closes his eyes. His expression softens. He is ready. Not just to race, but to face whatever the race might bring. Only 7 laps later, he would be gone. I've watched that footage many times. It forces me to confront the question so many of us avoid asking ourselves. What is death? Why do we fear it? And how do we live knowing it's always near?
Not one to shy away from the hard questions, Mario confronts them with logic, science, and faith. His background in medical biochemistry gives him a unique lens, one that blends molecular precision with metaphysical inquiry.
Professionally, I am a medical biochemist. I've studied the chemistry of life, the textbook definition that defines life as reproduction, growth, substance exchange, adaptation. Yet, these definitions fall short. Life is more than molecules. We are all familiar with the never-ending debate on the origin of life, evolution versus creation. Evolution explains how life changes, but does it explain how life began? Oh, yes, amino acids could form in early Earth conditions, but that primitive formation we know about doesn't explain the how of existence itself. How does a hydrogen atom exist? How does anything exist? Aristotle spoke of the primum movens, the unmoved mover. St. Thomas Aquinas echoed this. Everything that moves is moved by something else. And this concept leads to the need of a first cause, a creator.
Mario's logic inevitably leads him to faith, not as superstition, but as reason. If existence has a cause, then that cause must be beyond matter. And if that beyond matter cause is a creator, then death is not the end. These are not abstract reflections. They are grounded in experience, in moments of fear, in memories of loved ones, in the quiet realization that life is finite, but meaning is infinite.
Faith gives us hope. Real hope. Not wishful thinking, but certainty. Certainty that something good will happen, that life continues beyond death. The Sermon on the Mount says,
"Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth."
These words are not just poetry. They are promises. We all live with expectations. We say we hope for a better life, but true hope is not statistical. It's not about chances. It's about truth. If we are immortal, then hope is real. And if we were created out of love, then death is not a failure. It's a transition.
Scene 6. Turning to a wonderful smile and seeing love.
It's July 2019. I'm at Goodwood in the UK. Jackie Stewart has returned to the circuit in a blue car, the Matra he drove to his first championship 50 years earlier in 1969. He will be followed by 2 Tyrrells, both driven by his sons, Paul and Mark. Jackie stops before loading himself into the Matra and looks back to an elderly woman who has accompanied him, sitting in her wheelchair. This was Helen, his wife, and as she smiles towards him, he approaches and hands her the flower he'd secretly brought with him just for her. That tableau stayed with me. It wasn't just a nostalgic moment between an old married couple. It was love. A love that had endured decades, victories, losses, and illness. A love that had grown deeper with time.
Mario sees in Jackie and Helen Stewart something timeless. Not just a racing legacy, but a human one. A relationship built on care, respect, and shared experience. It reminds him of his own journey. Love isn't defined by sentiment alone, and for Mario, it's a metaphysical reality, an unselfish force that transcends biology, logic, and even time.
March 2011. Spring is in the air. I'm not in the mood for spring, though. I'm in the ICU after having suffered a heart attack. Myocardial infarction is what my doctor notes in my chart. I know exactly what is happening. My medical training makes it impossible to ignore. A stent has been placed. The damage has been contained. But just as in the moments after slipping between 2 rows of stopped cars on a rainy highway, I find myself shaken. As I lay in that hospital bed, I look to my left and see Lisa, my wife, standing there in a surgical gown. As she notices me glancing at her, she smiles. And in that moment, that shaken feeling melts away. That smile my wife offered me went beyond comforting. It was transcendent. Embedded in the upturned corners of her lips, the lines that bracketed her mouth, the fanned-out wrinkles around her eyes, I could visualize our past, our present, our future. It was love, real love, the kind that doesn't fade, the kind that reveals something eternal.
Mario's reflections turn inward, the racetrack fades, and in its place emerges something quieter, more intimate, a smile, a memory, a moment of grace. Love, for Mario, is not just an emotion. It's a metaphysical truth, a force that binds individuals across time, space, and spirit.
Love is not just attraction or affection. It's a gift, an unconditional donation. It's not about preserving oneself or one's species. It's about giving, even when it costs you. St. Paul said,
Love is patient, love is kind. It is not jealous, it is not pompous. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails.
Like the words of the Sermon on the Mount, these lines are not simply poetic. They contain description of something real, something that exists beyond physical matter.
Mario's reflections on love are grounded in experience, in smiles, in memories, in the quiet moments that reveal eternity. Mario sees love as proof of the metaphysical. If love exists, and it does, then so must the soul, so must the creator, ergo, so must meaning.
Each person has a unique molecular identity. Our genes, our environment, our experiences, they shape us. But love goes further. It connects us not just horizontally with others, but vertically with our origin. Love is a three-dimensional relationship. It is the bridge between individuality and universality, between the finite and the infinite. Lisa's smile in that "I see you" wasn't just beautiful. It was a revelation. It reminded me that love is real, that life has meaning, that we are not alone.
Scene 7. Turning, driving, choosing. Free will.
I remember Alboreto, a good driver, more importantly, a good man. When asked at Monaco in 1982 about the risks of racing, he didn't romanticize them. He simply said his risks were no greater than those faced by the Carabinieri, the Italian police, who confront danger every day. That humility stayed with me. Though Alboreto's career was brilliant, he was never fully rewarded. He did nearly win the championship with Ferrari in 1985, but technical failures cost him dearly. Then in April 2001, Alboreto is testing a Le Mans prototype. He's 44 years old, no longer in Formula One, but still racing, still chasing excellence, until a mechanical failure sends him into a wall. He died instantly.
Mario sees Alboreto's life as a testament to quiet integrity. Not every great driver wins championships. Not every good person is recognized. But the choices they make, the risks that they accept, reveal something profound. Mario, of course, must confront the concept of free will, and not as an abstract philosophy, but as a lived experience. Through the lives and choices of drivers like Michele Alboreto, Nico Rosberg, and Lewis Hamilton, he explores how decision-making under pressure reveals character, courage, and conviction.
Commitment is the only part of success that deserves reward. Talent, luck, and resources matter, but only commitment comes from choice. Nico Rosberg has to pass Max Verstappen to win the championship at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in 2016. Overtaking the Dutch-Belgium driver will be risky. Verstappen is a hard one to pass. Yet Rosberg does not hesitate. He drives inside, he goes wide, he nearly collides, but makes it, and with that move, wins the title. He then retired from racing. That decision shocked everyone. But I think he actually decided during the race, perhaps at the moment when he realized how close he came to losing everything. He had achieved his goal. That was enough. Lewis Hamilton is pushing it hard on the soaked track at Austin, Texas in that final practice in 2015. Everyone else is being cautious, but Hamilton is having none of that. He dances on the edge, sets the fastest lap, beats them all by nearly a second. Hamilton didn't need to take that risk. The championship wasn't at stake. But he chose to compete, chose to excel. Hamilton exercised free will. Free will allows us to choose, to be good, to do good.
Mario believes that knowing when to stop is as important as knowing when to push on. Free will is not just about action, it's about discernment. He also sees driving as a metaphor for moral agency. Every turn is a choice, every lap is a test. To drive well is to choose well.
St. Paul said,
"Do you not know that the runners in the stadium all run in the race, but only one wins the prize? Run so as to win."
Mario's reflections on free will are grounded in experience, in racing, in medicine, and in teaching. He sees choice not as a burden, but as a gift, and driving for him remains one of the purest expressions of that gift.
with the coming of autonomous self-driving cars, drivers and driving may soon become obsolete. But the act of choosing, of steering one's life, that will never disappear. We will always drive, even if not with wheels, then with will.
Scene 8. Turning by Fundamental Virtues.
Sebastian Vettel is driving for Toro Rosso, a team no one expected to win. We're at Monza, the year is 2008. Vettel takes the pole position and wins the race, despite the rain, despite the treacherous conditions of the track. Vettel drove with precision, courage, and grace. He didn't just win. He revealed something deeper, the power of virtue. That weekend reminded me of Donington in 1993, when Senna won in the same kind of dangerous, rainy, wet conditions with an inferior car. But Vettel's win was different. Toro Rosso wasn't just underpowered, it was underestimated. And yet, he prevailed.
Mario has shifted gears on us, literally and metaphorically. He explores how the fundamental virtues that guide human behavior also apply to motorsport. Racing, for him, is not just about speed or skill, it's about character, about choosing well under pressure, about living with purpose. Mario uses Vettel's performance as a reflection of the cardinal virtues, not just talent, but prudence, justice, fortitude, and temperance, each playing a role in the dance between driver and machine.
Prudence is the charioteer of the virtues. It guides decisions. At Monza, the Parabolica turn demands it. You must brake just enough. Not too early, not too late. You must accelerate with care, knowing that the exit speed determines your lap time. Prudence isn't caution, it's wisdom. Justice comes next. On the main straight, at 340 kilometers per hour, you're not alone. You're surrounded by others, each with their own goals. Justice means respecting their space, their rights, their dignity. Even in competition, fairness matters. Fortitude is tested in the first chicane. You brake from top speed to a crawl. It's violent, it's risky, but you must commit. You must endure. Fortitude is not bravado, it's resolve. Temperance arrives at Ascari. The temptation to overdrive is strong, but excess leads to error. Temperance moderates desire. It balances ambition with control.
Mario's reflections are not just technical, they're moral. He sees racing as a crucible for character, a place where virtues are tested, revealed, and refined. Mario's view of racing is expansive. It's not just about cars or circuits, it's about humanity, about the pursuit of excellence, about the choices we make and the virtues we embody.
Motorsport is a relationship, horizontal between drivers, vertical between man and meaning. It's not just about winning, it's about striving, about doing good, about being good. The theological virtues, faith, hope, and love, guide our goals. The cardinal virtues, prudence, justice, fortitude, and temperance, guide our actions. I've seen many drivers win, but the ones I admire most are those who drive with virtue, who compete not just to beat others, but to better themselves. That's the real race, and it never ends.
Scene 9. Turning Around. Molecular Energy for Life.
It's a beautiful engine. Not the one you hear roaring down a straightway, but the one that hums silently inside every living cell. The ATP synthase, an exquisite molecular machine that rotates like a turbine, driven by a stream of protons. This motor assembles the energy currency of life. Without the energy this motor creates, we wouldn't move, think, or breathe. Its structure is perfect, its function precise, and yet it's invisible to the naked eye, measured in nanometers, a billionth of a meter. Some call it proof of intelligent design. I don't. I see it as evidence of something deeper, the mystery of existence itself.
Mario often uses this molecular-level rotary cell motor as a pole position from which he may present a more fundamental question. How does anything exist at all? Not how it functions, but how it came to be. He easily draws striking parallels between the natural elegance of this motor and the roar of the engine in a Formula One car. For Mario, science and spirit are not opposites, they're intertwined.
While we can explain transformations, how molecules combine, how energy flows, explaining existence continues to escape our abilities. Aristotle doesn't clear the concept for us with his unmoved mover. Neither did St. Thomas Aquinas, suggesting an instigator of all movement. And that's where my faith begins, not in complexity, but in origin. I admire the invisible organic engine working silently deep within the mitochondria in the same way I admire a Ferrari V12 roaring with compression under the brightly painted hood. Both are engines, motors that convert energy into motion. Both are beautiful.
Mario's scientific training gives him clarity, and Mario's reflections are not dogmatic, they're deductive. He sees science as a tool for understanding, not a weapon for argument, but his philosophical curiosity gives him depth. It's not just a molecule, it's a metaphor. He sees the molecular world not just as a system, but as a story, that being a story of creation, purpose, and possibility.
We've come a long way. We've mapped genomes, built molecular models, synthesized life's building blocks. We've disproved the old idea of vis vitalis, the vital force. But in doing so, we've risked throwing out our humility with the bathwater. Not being able to locate a soul in a cell doesn't prove it isn't there. Not physically, but metaphysically.
Mario's reflections on molecular biology lead him back to the human condition, to fear, to hope, to the COVID-19 pandemic.
It's March 2020. I'm confined in my hometown of Naples, confined like so many others here, like so many others across the globe. The streets are empty, the sun is shining, but the city is quiet. People are quietly confined with their worst fear, not of the virus, but of death. Mystery, the unknown, these paralyze us. Despite our knowledge, our technology, our progress, that mystery stops us in our tracks. Of course, we searched for answers. Naturally, we clung to statistics, to headlines, to hope. But real hope doesn't come from probability. It comes from truth. And truth requires education, not just information, but formation. The ability to think, to discern, to choose.
Mario sees the pandemic as both a medical and philosophical crisis. COVID-19 exposed our fragility, our ignorance, our need for meaning, and so his reflections return to the drivers he admires, not just for their speed, but for their choices. For example, Gunnar Nielsen, who died of cancer at age 30, founded a research foundation that still supports oncology today.
Nielsen didn't just race, he gave. He chose to do good even as he was dying. That's what it means to live well, to drive well, to turn well. We are driven by energy, by love, by hope. And even when the track is silent, the race continues.
Scene 10, The Last Turn, The Infinite.
Pete Aaron stands alone on the Monza circuit. The grandstands are empty. The track is still littered with the debris from the race the day before. He had won the championship, but Sarti had died. Stoddard had suffered. Aaron walks slowly, silently, asking himself, did I deserve this? Did they deserve more? That final scene from Grand Prix with James Gardner portraying Pete Aaron always stayed with me. It wasn't about victory. It was about reflection, about the weight of consequence, about the mystery of fate.
Aaron's silence holds a universal truth. Our lives are shaped by both our choices and by circumstances beyond our control. We must keep walking, driving, and choosing. And therefore, Mario considers this truth to show a beginning rather than an ending, a leading transition from the physical to the metaphysical, from the racetrack to eternity. Through the lens of motorsport, he explores death not as defeat, but as a doorway to the infinite.
Senna's final lap at Imola. Gilles' final qualifying run at Zolder. Both were chasing excellent. Both were betrayed by circumstance. And yet, both lived with purpose, with passion, with love. Their deaths were not the end, they were transitions. Their lives did not end with the body, they continue in memory, in meaning, in the infinite. I believe we are immortal, not metaphorically, literally. Our souls do not die. Our choices matter, our love endures. I imagine Senna and Gilles still driving, not on Imola or Zolder, but on a track beyond time, a circuit of light, a race without end. I see them side by side, their cars glowing, their helmets bright, their spirits free.
Eternity is more than an abstraction. It's also a destination, a place where justice is restored, where love is fulfilled, where hope is realized. Mario's reflections transcend motorsport. He sees in every turn a metaphor, in every race a parable, in every driver a seeker of truth.
I remember the words of St. Paul.
I have competed well. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith.
That's what I want. Not just to drive fast, not just to win, but to live well, to do good, to finish the race with faith. I'm getting older. My body is slowing, but my spirit is accelerating. I'm ready for the next turn, the eternal turn. And I know I won't be alone. My final turn will not be a farewell. It's a promise, a commitment to keep driving, through memory, through meaning, through the infinite.
We are all drivers. Some of us with engines, others with ideas, with love, and with hope. But all of us face turns, moments that test our courage, our character, and our commitment. And in those turns, we discover who we are. Mario's journey reminds us that life is not measured in laps or trophies, but in choices, and in the way we treat others, but also the way we respond to loss. On the way, we keep driving, even when the road disappears. The track may change, the car may age, but the spirit, that being the will to strive, to love, and to believe, remains. So as we approach our final turns, may we do so with grace, with memory, with faith, and may we find, beyond that last curve, not an end, but a beginning to something infinite. Because the race never truly ends, it just changes lanes. We hope you enjoyed this audio adaptation of Dr. Mario Tech's book, Driving to the Future, Living Life Following Formula One Racing. The part of the narrator was performed by Crew Chief Eric from the Motoring Podcast Network, and the voice of Mario was provided by Revel Airway from You're Listening to Radio Revel. Driving to the Future is a deeply personal and philosophical journey told through the lens of motorsport. Across its chapters, Mario reflects on excellence and purpose through the lives of drivers like Gilles Villeneuve, Ayrton Senna, and Jackie Stewart. Mario explores the pursuit of greatness, not for fame, but for meaning. Racing becomes a metaphor for striving towards one's best self. He also covers memory and reflection, because the past is not romanticized but revisited with clarity. Mario honors moments of triumph and tragedy, using them to ask deeper questions about justice, legacy, and the fragility of life. He also talks about virtue and free will. Racing demands prudence, fortitude, justice, and temperance. Mario sees these virtues not just as overtakes and pit stops, but the moral choices drivers make on and off the track. He leans into love and relationship, from Jackie and Helen Stewart's enduring bond to his wife Lisa's smile while in the ICU. Love is portrayed as a metaphysical truth, an unselfish force that transcends biology and time. With his background, he also leans into science as well as faith. Mario bridges molecular biology and metaphysics, drawing parallels between ATP synthase and Ferrari engines. He sees in both the fingerprints of design, mystery, and divine origin. And finally, he touches on morality and hope. Death is not feared, but contemplated. Mario believes in the soul's immortality and in the continuation of meaning beyond the body and the eternal race we all run. If you want to learn more about Dr. Tech's original book, you can pick it up today by searching Driving to the Future, Living Life Following Formula One Racing. Pick up a hardcover copy for $13.99, a paperback for $5.30, or on Kindle, all through Amazon.com. We hope you enjoyed another awesome episode of Break Fix Podcast, brought to you by Grand Touring Motorsports. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or get involved, be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at Grand Touring Motorsports. And if you'd like to learn more about the content of this episode, be sure to check out the follow-on article at gtmotorsports.org. We remain a commercial-free and no annual fees organization through our sponsors, but also through the generous support of our fans, families, and friends through Patreon. For as little as $2.50 a month, you can get access to more behind-the-scenes action, additional pit stop minisodes, and other VIP goodies, as well as keeping our team of creators fed on their strict diet of Fig Newtons, gummy bears, and Monster. So consider signing up for Patreon today at www.patreon.com/GT Motorsports. And remember, without you, none of this would be possible.